My sister lied about me agreeing to be her surrogate. Family turned against me. I never thought I would be the villain in my own family's story. But here I am, sitting in my therapist's office on a Tuesday afternoon, explaining why my entire extended family has blocked me on social media. It started 3 months ago when my sister Emma called me at work, her voice thick with tears. "The insurance is cutting us off," she said without preamble. 6 months left of coverage and then we are on our own. I knew what she meant. Emma and her husband Josh had been trying to conceive for 2 years, going through round after round of IVF with their insurance footing most of the bill. As a teacher, Emma had decent coverage, but like most plans, there was a lifetime cap on fertility treatments. "I am so sorry, Em," I said, minimizing my marketing reports on my computer screen. "That is devastating." "Actually," she said, and something in her tone made my stomach clench. "I have been thinking, and Josh agrees, that maybe this is a sign we should try a different approach." I waited. "You could carry a baby for us." The words hung in the air like smoke. My coffee mug suddenly felt too heavy in my hands. "Emma, think about it before you say no," she rushed on. "You are healthy, you are 29, and honestly, Maya, you have been trying for 4 years with nothing to show for it. Maybe your body is trying to tell you something. Maybe your body is trying to tell you something." I set down my coffee with shaking hands. In 4 years of trying to conceive, I had had 2 miscarriages, dozens of negative pregnancy tests, and more invasive medical procedures than I cared to count. I had started therapy just last month to deal with what my counselor called fertility trauma. "I need to think about it," I managed. "Of course," Emma said, her voice brightening. "Take your time. Well, not too much time. 6 months and all that." After I hung up, I stared at my computer screen for 20 minutes, seeing nothing. My coworker Jessica knocked on my office door. "You look like you have seen a ghost," she said, something like that. That weekend, Emma showed up at my apartment with takeout from our favorite Thai place and a folder thick with printouts. "I have been doing research," she announced, spreading papers across my dining table. "Gestational surrogacy is actually really straightforward these days. Josh's sperm, my eggs, your uterus. Biologically, it would not even be your baby." She said it so casually, like she was explaining a recipe. "The legal stuff is simple too," she continued, pulling out more papers. "I found a lawyer who specializes in family surrogacy arrangements. Much cheaper than going through an agency." I picked up one of the printouts. It was a medical journal article about surrogacy success rates. "Emma, this is a huge decision. I need more than a weekend to think about it." Her face fell slightly. I know. It is just that Mom and Dad think it is such a perfect solution. Mom even said she would help with doctor's appointments and everything. You told Mom and Dad." "Well, yeah. They are so excited about the possibility of grandchildren. Dad said it would be like when Aunt Ruth helped Aunt Margaret back in Ireland, you know, keeping it in the family." My parents had immigrated from Ireland when Emma and I were young, and they carried certain old-world expectations about family duty. Aunt Ruth's situation, as I recalled from family stories, involved caring for her sister's children after Margaret died in childbirth, not serving as a surrogate. "That is completely different, Emma." "Is it, though?" She leaned forward, her eyes bright with the fervor I recognized from when we were kids, and she wanted something badly, "Maya. We are family. Family helps family. And honestly, what else are you going to do with your reproductive system? You have been trying for 4 years. There it was again. The implication that my body was somehow failing its intended purpose, that I should repurpose my womb for someone more deserving." I took a deep breath. "I am still processing my own fertility struggles. I am in therapy. This feels like too much right now." Emma's expression shifted, becoming cooler. "Right now, Maya, I do not have the luxury of right now. My clock is ticking and our insurance runs out in 6 months. If we're going to do this, we need to start soon. And if I say no..." She gathered up her papers with sharp, efficient movements. "Then I guess we will figure something else out. But I hope you know what you would be giving up." After she left, I called my therapist and scheduled an emergency session. Dr. Martinez listened patiently as I explained the situation. "How do you feel about Emma's request?" she asked. "Trapped," I said immediately, then felt guilty for the admission, and angry, and confused. She is my sister, and she is suffering. But the way she is asking feels wrong somehow. Can you identify what feels wrong about it? I thought for a moment. She is not really asking. She is telling me this is the solution, and if I do not agree, I am being selfish. Is that a pattern in your relationship with Emma? It was. Growing up, Emma had always been the golden child, 3 years older, naturally gifted at everything she tried. When she wanted something, she had a way of making it seem inevitable, reasonable, like resistance was just stubbornness. When she wanted to borrow my car in high school, she would mention how much easier her life would be, how I did not really need it on weekends anyway. When she needed a place to stay after college, she had pointed out how lonely I must be in my 1-bedroom apartment, how nice it would be to have company. I had always said yes. It was easier than dealing with her disappointment or our parents' gentle suggestions that I should be more accommodating. I do not know how to say no to her. I admitted to Dr. Martinez, "What do you think would happen if you did?" I knew exactly what would happen. I had seen it before when I had briefly resisted lending her money for her wedding dress, when I had hesitated about being her maid of honor because the date conflicted with a work conference. Emma would cry. She would call our parents. Our parents would call me with concerned voices, asking if everything was okay between Emma and me, mentioning how much stress Emma was under, how important family was. Eventually, I would cave. But this was not a car or an apartment or money. This was my body, 9 months of my life, and medical risks I was not sure I was ready to take. The pressure ramped up over the following weeks. My mother started calling more frequently, always managing to work Emma's fertility struggles into the conversation. "Your sister is having such a hard time," she would say. "It is heartbreaking to watch. She has always been so good with children." My father was more direct. During our weekly Sunday dinner, he pulled me aside. "Your mother and I have been talking," he said, "about Emma's situation. It is a shame when family cannot help each other out. Dad, it is not that simple. Is not it?" He gave me the look I remembered from childhood, the one that suggested I was being deliberately obtuse. "You have got a working reproductive system. Emma does not." Seemed straightforward to me. A working reproductive system. Like I was a piece of machinery, evaluated purely on functionality. "I have had 2 miscarriages, Dad." His expression softened slightly. "I know, sweetheart. But that just proves your body can get pregnant. Emma cannot even do that anymore." The logic was so twisted it took my breath away. Emma herself started sending me articles. Studies on surrogacy success rates. Heartwarming stories of sisters helping sisters. Medical research on the benefits of gestational surrogacy over adoption. Each email came with a brief note. "Thought you might find this interesting," or just some light reading. The most devastating was a first-person essay titled, "How My Sister Gave Me the Greatest Gift Imaginable." Emma had highlighted several passages in yellow. I stopped opening her emails. Then came the Sunday dinner that changed everything. I walked into my parents' house to find Emma's husband, Josh, already there, along with my aunt and uncle and 2 of my cousins. Emma was in the kitchen with my mother, and I could hear them talking in low, urgent voices. "Maya, my cousin Brian called out, 'We hear you might be having a baby soon.'" I froze in the doorway. "What?" "Emma told us about the surrogacy plan," my Aunt Catherine said, beaming. "How wonderful that you can help her out. It is just like the old days, when families really took care of each other." I looked around the room at their expectant faces. Josh was smiling at me with what looked like genuine gratitude. My uncle raised his beer in a mock toast. "To sisters," he said. Emma emerged from the kitchen, her cheeks flushed. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw something flicker in her expression. Guilt or triumph, I could not tell which. "Actually," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I have not agreed to anything yet." The room went quiet. My mother appeared behind Emma, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Oh, honey, do not be modest. Emma told us you are still working out the details, but that you are excited to help." "I never said I was excited to help." Emma's face went white. "Maya, maybe we should talk about this privately." "No," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "Let us talk about it right here. When did I agree to be your surrogate?" The silence stretched uncomfortably. My father cleared his throat. "Now, Maya, there is no need to get upset. We are all family here. I am not upset, I am confused. Because I specifically told Emma I needed time to think, and now somehow everyone knows about a plan I never agreed to." Emma stepped forward, her hands clasped in front of her like she was praying. "I just thought, with the family here, we could talk through any concerns you might have. Everyone could help explain how important this is. Important to who?" "To me," she said, and her voice cracked. "Maya, I am desperate. The insurance runs out in 4 months now. If we do not start soon, we will have to take out loans, go into debt, maybe not be able to try at all." I looked around the room again. My relatives were staring at me with expressions ranging from confusion to disappointment. Josh was studying his shoes. My parents looked like they were watching a car accident happen in slow motion. "Emma, I understand you are desperate, but that does not mean I have to solve your problem with my body." My father stood up abruptly. "That is enough. Maya, you are being selfish." The word hit me like a slap. Selfish. Because I would not rent out my uterus to my sister. Because I was putting my own mental health and bodily autonomy ahead of her desire for children. How am I being selfish? "You have been trying for 4 years with nothing to show for it." My mother said gently, "Maybe it is time to accept that God has other plans for you. Maybe this is how you are meant to help bring children into the world. Maybe it is time to accept that God has other plans for you." I felt something break inside me, some last thread of people-pleasing that had been holding me together. "Maybe," I said quietly, "God's plan does not involve me sacrificing my body for everyone else's expectations." I grabbed my purse and walked out, leaving behind the sounds of shocked murmurs and Emma's tears. The next week was brutal. My phone buzzed constantly with texts from family members, each one a variation on the same theme. Think about what Emma is going through. Family is supposed to support each other. You are breaking your sister's heart. Emma herself called me daily, usually crying. The conversations followed the same pattern. She would start by apologizing for ambushing me at dinner, then gradually shift to explaining how desperate she was, how much the family support meant to her, how hurt she was by my rejection. I just do not understand, she said during one particularly painful call. What happened to you? You used to be so generous, so willing to help. Now you are acting like I am asking you to donate a kidney. You are asking me to risk my life for 9 months so you can have a baby. Risk your life, Maya. It is pregnancy, not surgery. Women do it every day. 2 of my pregnancies ended in miscarriage. That is different. This would be monitored, professional, and it would not even be your baby. The way she said it, would not even be your baby, like, that should make it easier. Like the physical and emotional toll of pregnancy was somehow negated by genetics. I had been thinking about that a lot since the dinner disaster. About the way everyone talked about surrogacy like it was a simple transaction, a favor as casual as lending a dress. Nobody mentioned the morning sickness, the weight gain, the stretch marks, the sleepless nights. Nobody talked about the hormonal changes, the mood swings, the way pregnancy could trigger anxiety and depression. Nobody acknowledged that even successful pregnancies could be traumatic. They certainly did not mention that I would have to put my own fertility plans on hold for over a year, that I would have to stop taking my antidepressants, that I would have to endure another pregnancy knowing the baby was not mine. But the worst part was the assumption that because my own reproductive efforts had failed, my body was somehow available for someone else's use. 2 weeks after the dinner, my cousin Sarah called me. Maya, I think there is something you should know. Sarah was Emma's age, but had always been closer to me. She had been at the dinner but had not said much. Emma has been telling people that you already agreed to be her surrogate and that you are trying to back out at the last minute. My stomach dropped. What people? Everyone. The whole family. Her friends at school. She started a GoFundMe for the medical expenses, and she has been sharing it on social media, saying her sister is supporting her through surrogacy. I pulled up Facebook on my laptop while Sarah kept talking. There it was, Emma's profile picture updated to a photo of the 2 of us from last Christmas. Her arm around my shoulders, both of us smiling. The post was from 3 days ago. So grateful for my amazing sister Maya, who has agreed to help Josh and me start our family through surrogacy. The insurance coverage ends soon, so we are raising funds for the medical expenses not covered. Please share and donate if you can. It takes a village, and we are so blessed to have Maya's support. The post had 47 likes and 23 comments, all variations on how wonderful and selfless I was. How lucky Emma was to have such a generous sister. Sarah, I whispered into the phone. I never agreed to anything. I know. I was there at the dinner, remember? But Emma is telling everyone that you committed months ago and now you are getting cold feet. I scrolled through the comments, reading messages from relatives I barely spoke to, praising me for my sacrifice and generosity. Several people had shared the post, spreading the story of my supposed commitment to their own networks. There is more, Sarah said quietly. She has been talking to Aunt Catherine about how worried she is about your mental health, how the fertility struggles have made you unstable and unreliable. Unstable and unreliable. The words stung because they felt like a distorted version of the truth. I had been struggling. I was in therapy. I had been emotional and uncertain about major life decisions, but Emma was using my mental health struggles as both evidence that I should not have children of my own and as an excuse for my reluctance to help her. Maya, you need to know that most of the family believes her version of events. They think you promised to help and now you are backing out because you are having some kind of breakdown. After I hung up with Sarah, I sat staring at Emma's Facebook post for a long time. The photo of us looked so happy, so close. We had always been close, despite the age difference and personality conflicts. She had been my protector in elementary school when kids made fun of my accent. I had been her confidant in high school when she had her heart broken. We had supported each other through college, through career changes, through the deaths of our grandparents. But somewhere along the way, that closeness had become something else. Emma had learned that I would always say yes eventually. And I had learned that saying no meant dealing with her disappointment and the family's disapproval. Now she had backed me into a corner where saying no made me look like a liar and a flake. I screenshot the Facebook post and several of the comments, then called Dr. Martinez's office to schedule an emergency session. This is emotional manipulation, Dr. Martinez said after I had explained the situation. Emma has created a scenario where your only choices are to comply with her wishes or be seen as the villain who broke a promise you never made. But what if I really am being selfish? What if I should just help her? Maya, bodily autonomy is not selfish. You have the right to make decisions about your own body, even when those decisions disappoint other people. The whole family thinks I am a terrible person. The family believes a story they have been told. That does not make the story true. Dr. Martinez leaned forward in her chair. I want you to think about something. If Emma had asked you to donate a kidney, and you had said you needed time to think about it, and then she told everyone you had already agreed, how would you feel? Furious. This is the same thing. She is asking you to risk your health and well-being for her benefit. And when you hesitated, she created social pressure to force your compliance. That night, I drafted a Facebook post of my own, explaining that I had never agreed to be anyone's surrogate, and that I was disappointed by the misrepresentation of our private family conversations. I wrote and rewrote it a dozen times, but I could not bring myself to post it. It felt like declaring war on my own family. Instead, I called Emma. We need to talk, I said when she answered. Maya, thank God. I was hoping you would come around. Josh and I have been looking at clinic schedules, and if we start the process next month, we can still get in before the insurance expires. Emma, I saw your Facebook post. Silence. The one where you said I agreed to be your surrogate. I was just trying to build support for the idea. You know how the family is. They need time to get used to new concepts. You told people I already committed. I said you were supporting us through surrogacy. That is not the same thing. The gaslighting was so smooth, so practiced, that for a moment I doubted my own reading comprehension. Emma, you started a GoFundMe. You are raising money based on a lie. It is not a lie, Maya. We talked about it. You said you would think about it. I am just being optimistic about your decision. I never agreed to anything. Her voice hardened. Fine. You want me to be completely accurate. I will post an update saying that my sister is reconsidering her commitment to help me have children. Is that better? The threat was clear. She could make me look even worse, like someone who had made a promise and then cruelly changed her mind. Emma, please, just post that. We are still discussing options. Do not make it sound like I broke a commitment I never made. I will think about it, she said, and hung up. She never posted an update. Over the next month, the family pressure intensified. My parents called less frequently, but when they did, they spoke to me with careful politeness. Like I was a stranger they were trying not to offend. My aunts and uncles stopped inviting me to family events. When I ran into my cousin Brian at the grocery store, he looked uncomfortable and made an excuse to leave quickly. Emma, meanwhile, had ramped up her social media campaign. She posted regularly about her fertility journey, always mentioning her hope that family support would help make her dreams come true. The comments were full of people encouraging her and expressing disappointment in unnamed family members who were not stepping up to help. I felt like I was living in an alternate reality where I was the villain in a story I did not recognize. The breaking point came during what should have been a routine appointment with my own fertility specialist, Dr. Kim Maya, she said, looking confused as she reviewed my chart. I have a note here that you are considering gestational surrogacy for a family member. Is that something you want to discuss? I stared at her. I never told you that. Oh, I have a message from Dr. Patel's office asking about your medical history for a surrogacy consultation. Your sister Emma is his patient, I believe. My heart started pounding. Emma contacted my doctor. Dr. Kim looked uncomfortable. It appears someone from your family reached out to inquire about your reproductive health records for a surrogacy evaluation. Of course, we cannot release any information without your written consent. I felt sick. Emma had been so confident I would eventually say yes that she had already started the medical process. Dr. Kim, I never agreed to be anyone's surrogate. Her expression grew concerned. Maya, I think there may be some miscommunication in your family. Surrogacy is a complex medical and legal process that requires extensive counseling and consent. You should not feel pressured into making this decision. That afternoon, I called the office of Dr. Patel, Emma's fertility specialist. Hi, this is Maya Chen, I said to the receptionist. I believe someone from my family scheduled a consultation for me regarding surrogacy. Oh yes, Maya. We have you down for next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Your sister was so excited that you had agreed to help. She has already completed most of the preliminary paperwork. Emma had scheduled a medical consultation for me without my knowledge or consent. She had told medical professionals that I had agreed to be her surrogate. She had started filling out paperwork on my behalf. The violation felt breathtaking. I canceled the appointment and asked them to remove my name from their records entirely. Then I called Sarah. I need your help. I said, I am going to tell the truth about what is happening, but I need someone to back me up. What do you want me to do? Will you tell people what really happened at that Sunday dinner? Will you confirm that I never agreed to anything? Sarah was quiet for a moment. Maya, you know I love you, but I do not want to get in the middle of this. Emma is really struggling and the family is already choosing sides. What sides? There should not be sides. There should just be the truth. The truth is complicated. Emma needs help and you are the only person who can provide it. Maybe it does not matter exactly how we got here. Even Sarah. who had called to warn me about Emma's lies, was not willing to publicly support me when it mattered. I was completely alone. That night, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. I wrote a detailed Facebook post explaining exactly what had happened. I included screenshots of the GoFundMe that had been created in my name, copies of the text messages from family members pressuring me to comply, and a clear statement that I had never agreed to serve as anyone's surrogate. I explained that I was still dealing with my own fertility struggles, that I was in therapy, and that I had the right to make decisions about my own body without being manipulated or coerced. I posted it at 11 p.m. on a Sunday night, then turned off my phone. When I turned it back on Monday morning, I had 67 notifications. The responses were mixed. Some family members were angry, accusing me of airing private family business on social media. Others seemed genuinely shocked to learn that I had never actually agreed to help Emma. Several people, including some I barely knew, reached out privately to express support. A few shared their own stories of family, pressure around reproductive choices. But the most important response came from Dr. Martinez during our session that week. How do you feel about speaking your truth publicly? Scared, I admitted, but also relieved. I was so tired of living in Emma's version of reality. What has happened since you posted? I had been essentially cut off from most of my extended family. My parents were furious, saying I had embarrassed Emma publicly and made the family look dysfunctional. Emma herself had blocked me on all social media platforms and was not returning my calls. But I had also connected with online communities of people dealing with infertility, with women who had faced pressure to serve as surrogates, with people who had had to set boundaries with manipulative family members. I feel like I can breathe again, I said. 6 months later, Emma called me. Maya, she said, and her voice sounded different, smaller. I need to tell you something. I had been expecting this call, though I was not sure why. I am pregnant. I sat down hard on my couch. Congratulations. It is natural. We were not even trying anymore. Josh and I had started looking into adoption, and I guess the stress relief helped. We sat in silence for a moment. Maya, I owe you an apology. Yes, you do. I was desperate, and I handled everything terribly. I convinced myself that if I just created enough pressure, you would say yes, and then you would be grateful later when you saw how happy it made me. Emma, you lied to our entire family. You scheduled medical appointments for me without my consent. You raised money based on a commitment I never made. I know, she whispered. I know, and I am sorry. I was so focused on what I wanted that I forgot you were a person with your own feelings and rights. It was not enough. It would never be enough to undo the months of manipulation and the family relationships that had been damaged, but it was a start. How are you feeling about the pregnancy? I asked. Terrified and excited, she said. Like I imagine you felt when you were trying. It was the first time she had acknowledged my own reproductive struggles as valid experiences rather than failures. I am happy for you. Emma, really? Are you still trying? To get pregnant? I mean, I thought about the question. After everything that had happened, after months of therapy and boundary setting and learning to prioritize my own well-being, the desperate urgency around having children had faded. I am taking a break, I said, focusing on other things for now. That sounds healthy. It was the first time anyone in my family had suggested that not actively trying to conceive might be a healthy choice. We talked for a few more minutes, carefully avoiding the topic of family relationships and focusing instead on safe subjects like her morning sickness and my new project at work. Before we hung up, Emma said, Maya, I know I do not have the right to ask for forgiveness, but I hope someday we can rebuild our relationship. I hope so too, I said, and meant it. The family dynamics took much longer to heal. Some relatives gradually reached out to apologize for pressuring me, admitting they had only heard Emma's side of the story. Others remained distant, apparently believing that I should have helped regardless of how the request was made. My parents and I are still working through our issues in family therapy. They have started to understand that their traditional views about family duty and reproductive roles contributed to an impossible situation, but the most important relationship I rebuilt was with myself. I learned that I could survive disappointing people, even people I loved. I learned that my body belonged to me, regardless of how functional or dysfunctional others perceived it to be. I learned that standing up for myself did not make me selfish. It made me human. Emma's baby was born healthy and beautiful 8 months after our reconciliation call. I sent a gift and a card, and she sent photos that I keep on my refrigerator. We are not as close as we once were, and maybe we never will be, but we are honest with each other now in a way we never were before. As for me, I am still in therapy, still figuring out what I want my life to look like. I might have children someday or I might not. Either way, I have learned that my worth is not tied to my reproductive capacity, and my body is not a resource for other people to use. It took almost losing my family to learn that the most important relationship I needed to protect was the one with myself. And for the first time in years, that feels like enough.